Alright, Ball Hunters, it's finally happening. Yes, Borderlands 4 is on the horizon, and there's only a few lucky people in the world that have actually played quite a bit of the game, including every playable Vault Hunter. They've also had the chance to explore the open world and battle it out against some of the game's bosses. Also, by the way, this video has no story spoilers, so you don't have to worry about that. But there are some concerns we have to talk about in this video about Borderlands 4. There's some worries about the game's overall performance. Yes, we're dealing with yet another Unreal Engine 5 release. Oh boy. Also, loot tables have been adjusted big time, but will this destroy the magic of discovery? And does the endgame really hold up? And will the post-launch content be enough to keep this game going for years? And will we eventually see this game devolve into what many considered to be the terrible humor from Borderlands 3? Also, how many hours is the main story campaign going to take to complete? That's always a big question. And there's also one big feature that doesn't get enough discussion here, and I really think it's going to surprise a lot of you guys. Well, we've got a lot to talk about, so let's dive in. Also, I'm doing a very big Borderlands 4 giveaway, so for a chance to win a copy of the game, follow that link in the top pinned comment. Alright, so I say we dive straight into this one. Now, I promise no story spoilers, but we do need some background info to give some context about what we're going to be talking about coming up here. But yeah, just the gist of it, Borderlands 4 does take place on a prison planet known as Kairos, which was devastated 6 years ago by a moon that smashed into it, destroying its protective barriers. Now, the story itself centers around the ruthless timekeeper, a dictator who controls the populace with cybernetic implants, and the player's role, that's you, as a Vault Hunter, will be to lead a resistance. Now, along the way, we'll be encountering a cast of returning fan favorites and new characters, but we've only seen a slice of the story so far, and the big question is if the story itself can maintain a compelling narrative over the full 30+ hour campaign and not enter into that meme humor of Borderlands 3. Now, the involvement of some of the old cast is awesome, but it also needs to be meaningful, so hopefully they can really build something new and fresh here for Borderlands 4. But overall, from what we're hearing from player impressions so far, it's feeling a lot better in terms of the writing and the humor as opposed to Borderlands 3, so at the very least, that's good news. All right, so now we got to talk about this brand new, beautiful open world and what you can actually do in this playground and how it stands out against the previous entries in the Borderlands franchise. So yes, gameplay-wise, the big new playground is the planet Kairos, of course, and this isn't just another Borderlands map. It's the series' first true, seamless open world. That means no more loading screens between zones. You can literally ride across the deserts into alien forests seamlessly, scale cliffs into ruined cities, and drop into cosmic horror vault dungeons without ever seeing a loading bar. But again, this is running on Unreal Engine 5, and the big question is, will it hold up? Now, first impressions are that there are some stutters as you venture through this open world, and that's the big concern. However, some early playtesters were told that a lot of this stuff would be addressed with a day one patch, but only time will tell with this sort of thing. Crossing our fingers that Unreal Engine 5 can actually hold up for once and we don't have a ton of stutters. We shall see. You guys know how Unreal Engine 5 has been running on a lot of game releases lately. But anyway, back to the details about Kairos, this new open world. It does look beautiful. Kairos has 4 distinct, seamlessly connected regions that you can explore. We've got the rolling hills of Fade Fields, the frigid peaks of Terminus Range, and the shattered lands of Carcadia Burn, and finally, the Dominion, the Timekeeper's impenetrable fortress city. So yeah, obviously there's a wide variety here despite this being a seamless open world. It didn't seem like it limited the art team whatsoever, so that's great news. We're seeing a lot of variety here in the open world. So yeah, there's a wide variety on offer here, and considering this is a seamless open world, it seems like they've done an excellent job with making sure it has diversified biomes. Now we gotta talk about traversal. Now it has been completely modernized. Every Vault Hunter has now access to mantling, wall climbing, double jumping, gliding, and grappling to environmental points. Add in the DigiRunner hoverbike, fast, customizable, and combat ready, and exploring Kairos is faster, smoother, and more vertical than ever before. But what makes Kairos feel alive are the dynamic world events. So while exploring, you might be stumbling upon faction skirmishes between rebel survivors and order troops, roaming mini-bosses that drop rare loot, randomized vault silo takeovers, which once captured, unlock fast travel points, and even offer vault key fragments, emergent weather like acid rain, or electromagnetic storms that change how firefights play out. That's the one I'm really excited about, but there are some concerns about pacing and identity when it comes to the actual gameplay mechanics to traversal. And there's only a few critics, really, a minority, that really pointed towards this as a potential problem. But there's a very big majority of the people that have played the game so far that are leaning into this as a positive, that the movement system is amazing, especially when you head into those boss battles. These boss mechanics have platforms that disappear, and there's almost like the floor is lava type moments where you really do have to utilize these movement systems no matter what. It makes it fresh and engaging, especially when you are playing cooperatively. And outside of the boss battles, it looks like the open world was truly designed from the very beginning with the traversal mechanics in mind. And this is actually super important because we've seen it reversed, and that does not feel good. So it looks like this game really has tapped into traversal mechanics in all the right ways, at least from what we have seen so far. And yes, this is a proper Borderlands game, so we have got to talk about loot. So guns are still randomly generated, but now they're built from weapon licenses and parts systems. So each manufacturer has licenses that change how weapons behave. So for example, a Maliwan pistol might now have an alternate fire mod you didn't expect, or a Jacob's rifle could fire explosive rounds if it's built with the right parts. There's also firmware, a new gear mechanic. Now firmware is like a set bonus that you can transfer once to another weapon, so if you get a sick firmware effect, you can move it over to your favorite gun and keep using it deeper into the grind. And they're also adding what's called ordnance throwables that aren't just grenades. Think deployable turrets, drones, and gadgets that make your loadout feel way more tactical. Basically, your whole arsenal is more customizable now. Plus, get this, pearlescent weapons, the ultra rare tier above legendary, are officially coming back, though those are going to be post-launch. More on that later in the video. But we got to break down the stars of this show, the new Vault Hunters themselves. Gearbox has introduced 4 new, fresh characters this go around, each designed to feel distinct in both personality and playstyle. So first up, we got Vex, the Dark Siren. Now Vex summons spectral minions, ghostly reapers, floating specters, and even her giant spectral cat, Trouble. Her big trait is Phase Covenant, which changes her abilities to match the element of the gun she's holding. So if she's holding a fire gun, you get fire skills, shotgun, shock powers, and so on and so forth. Now her action skills include Incarnate, Full Heal, Movement Buff, and a ranged Eldritch Blast. Now Phase Familiar summons Trouble to claw enemies and fight as a temporary badass minion, one of my favorite abilities for Vex. And Spectral Clone presents a scythe-wielding echo of herself, perfect for players who love hybrid builds, minion mastery, and flexible elemental damage. Next up, we got Rafa, the Exo Soldier. Rafa's an ex-Theodore Enforcer who defected, still armed with his exosuit frame. He can digi-struck weapons mid-fight, summon deadly arc knives, and occasionally even switch to third-person animations for brutal executions. His kit screams aggressive brawler, high DPS, durable armor, and relentless mobility. If you loved characters like Salvador from Borderlands 2 or Moze from Borderlands 3, Rafa is gonna be your top pick. Pure power fantasy here. And then we got Harlow, who's known as the Gravatar, a scientist who weaponized gravity. She controls the battlefield by suspending enemies in gravity bubbles, slamming them into the ground, or chaining them into explosive AoE combos. Now imagine Maya's phase lock, but dialed up with Maliwan style gadgetry and physics-based crowd control. Harlow's gonna be your top pick if you want to dominate groups, lock down bosses, and create absolute chaos in multiplayer. But we cannot forget the Forge Knight Amon, a tragic cult survivor turned weaponized juggernaut. Amon uses his curse powers to forge weapons, hammers, axes, or even energy whips. He's also able to summon drones called Forge Constructs to support him in battle. Amon's all about raw melee dominance mixed with elemental enhancements, making him a tanky frontline fighter with surprising versatility. And also post-launch, we're going to be getting a 5th Vault Hunter, more on that in a moment, but each Vault Hunter has 3 distinct action skills, unique augments, and deeper skill trees built for in-game synergy. Add in the firmware system and the ordnance slot, and the build potential here feels way richer than Borderlands 3. Now, when Borderlands 4 was initially revealed, there was quite a divisive reaction to the actual look of the new Vault Hunters, some saying that they're completely bland, and others really defended that these look like really badass Vault Hunters. I want to know what you guys think of the Vault Hunters, but the really good news is the actual customization here is going to be very, very extensive. And by the way, you earn these cosmetics as rewards for completing missions. They're going to be drops throughout the world and so on. So it really does encourage you to get out there in the open world, explore it, and you will be rewarded in return. You'll be able to personalize each Vault Hunter with new heads, bodies, and skins, alongside, of course, customizing your weapons and vehicles, but you can also customize your robot companion Echo 4 as well. And yes, you'll get additional rewards by signing up to the Shift program, just like you know from previous Borderlands entries. But from what they have shown here from some of the teases regarding character customization, overall, it looks really, really impressive, and in the long term, they plan to support cosmetics through post-launch by adding even more. So yeah, now we got to talk about that in-game and replayability, because this is where the game is going to live or die in the long term. So yeah, this is where Borderlands sometimes gets a little bit shaky with the in-game. Now, Borderlands 3 had Mayhem mode, which some loved and others found to be too grindy. Borderlands 4 is trying to solve this problem through a revamped Ultimate Vault Hunter mode right at launch. It's going to be split into 5 escalating difficulty tiers with mission-based challenges that keep you from just steamrolling. So yeah, once you finish the main campaign, you do unlock this mode, and this is when the real grind begins. So here's what you can expect. Enemies will be hitting harder, have larger health bars, and sometimes roll with modifiers like elemental resistances. Loot scales with difficulty, with better rewards, more XP, more cash, and more Iridium, the new in-game currency, of course. We've got 5 levels of progression. Instead of replaying the story from scratch, you climb these levels by completing challenges across the planet Kairos. These challenges often involve taking out specific mobs, then facing a wild card mission with boosted enemies and new traits. Beat it, unlock the next level, and repeat. And yes, there's weekly wild card missions too. These boss fights drop guaranteed legendary loot, so you don't want to miss out on these. Plus, Moxie's big encore returns, letting you boost one boss a week for higher drop rates. And loot farming is also going to be getting a major quality of life upgrade here. Instead of grinding the same boss in the same spots for hours and hours, you'll be pushed across Kairos for dedicated drops tied to different enemies. So boss hunting is now linked to contracts, which reward Iridium, that in-game currency I spoke about, and you could use that currency for things like refighting bosses via Moxie's big encore machine or respecking your specialization tree. No more quitting and reloading saves every time you want to refight boss, by the way. The process is smoother and better for co-op too. However, with this type of ambition comes risk. The concern around balance, pacing, and preserving the magic of random loot are very real here. Gearbox has a history of supporting and tuning its game post-launch, but the day one experience will be critical. Here's to hoping that there's no weird nerfs down the road as well, but there has been no indication that Gearbox would take that path, of course. But crossing our fingers here that the in-game is nice and solid right out of the gates at launch. But yeah, one of the coolest new systems is, of course, that firmware, which is going to be supporting your adventures even into that in-game. Think of it like gear sets with bonuses. If you get 2 pieces, you get a major bonus, and then at 3 pieces, you get full set bonus. Now, early tiers give things like extra action skill cooldown or ordnance damage, but the full set can do wild stuff like missile strikes or life steal. Now, firmware isn't tied to guns, by the way. It goes on class mods, shields, ordnance, and enhancements, and you can equip only 5 pieces at a time, making your choices very strategic as you go. You can even transfer firmware between items, but be careful. The source item gets destroyed and the target loses its previous firmware. Now, firmware starts dropping around level 25, so it's not right out the gates. So by the time you reach Ultimate Vault Hunter mode, you'll be chasing the top tier sets, and it's very much part of that in-game experience. And so are specializations, where you build your Vault Hunter essentially the way you want to. So yeah, they're going to rework the progression with specializations, kind of like an upgraded badass rank system. Now, this is what you can expect. Account-wide XP bar that levels up as you play. You'll invest points into nodes for things like more health, stronger shields, or extra gun damage. You'll unlock prestige nodes for big bonuses after heavily investing in certain paths. Now, you can slot these up to 4 sockets or leave some empty for a self-imposed challenge. Respecking is easy. so you can experiment with different builds. And again, the good news is you'll be able to skip the story if you have actually completed it one time over. So you'll start at level 30, which of course max level is going to be 50, and you're going to be fully ready to farm, level up, and chase the top tier loot without replaying that story. This is going to be perfect if you want to experiment with multiple vault hunters and then even be like kind of like matching the levels of your, friends if you want to start something fresh and new with it. But yeah, Borderlands 4's in-game is looking very, very ambitious. It looks like it's going to be potentially deep, rewarding, and less grindy than ever before. There are some concerns that it might feel a bit redundant replaying variations of missions that you've already played, and of course you're going to have modified bosses that you'll be experiencing and enemies and that sort of thing. But there are some holdouts saying, hey, we're worried that it is going to be redundant, and there are going to be updates post-launch, by the way, more on that in just a moment, to the in-game systems. But from what we're getting right out of the gates, this sounds pretty promising. And beyond the end game is of course that post-launch support, which is always a concern, and Gearbox has been really vocal more recently about what they're going to be doing, and they've revealed a roadmap. I say we dive into this, and there's a mix of free content you'll notice and then also paid stuff as well. So Q4 2025 is going to be interesting. It's going to start us out with free content. That's going to be the Horrors of Kairos, which is going to be releasing in October as a seasonal mini event that players, everyone by the way, can enjoy. It will bring us new legendary weapons, cosmetics, and one of my favorite things, weather variants, which is really cool. Now, as we continue into the rest of 2024, we can expect Bounty Pack 1. This is going to be our first paid DLC. It will also add new missions and one new boss, new legendary gear, one Vault Hunter style, one Echo 4 drone skin, and one new vehicle. It also gives you a Vault card that comes with 24 cosmetics and 4 pieces of gear you can re-roll. Now, we're also going to be getting free content in the form of Invincible Boss 1, and that's going to be happening by the end of 2025. So this is going to be high-level boss variant and arena. By facing these big bosses, you can earn the new legendaries they drop. This update will also add an ultimate Vault Hunter mode level. So that's really cool, and that will wrap up 2025. So heading into 2026, what is going to be happening? So we're going to start out with Bounty Pack number 2. This is going to be a paid DLC. So it's similar to the first pack. We're going to be getting new missions and a new boss, adding more legendary gear, one place skin, one Echo 4 skin, one vehicle, and a Vault card that gives you 24 cosmetics and 4 pieces of re-rollable equipment. Now, what about that free content, you're probably wondering? So this is where things are going to get interesting. We're going to be getting pearlescent rarity introduced to the game. So this update appears to be releasing alongside Bounty Pack number 2, and it will add the rarest tier of weapons to the game. So I think that's going to be a pretty hot topic for sure. And yeah, I'm sure the reaction is going to be insane with whoever gets those pearlescent weapons. Now, also, we have a paid DLC in 2026, Mad Ellie and the Vault of the Damned. This is going to be the first story pack coming to Borderlands 4. It's going to add our brand new Vault Hunter, new main story missions, a map zone, which is really cool, more side missions, legendary gear, and multiple cosmetics, 4 Vault Hunter head and styles, 4 weapon skins, 2 vehicle skins, 3 Echo 4 drone skins and attachments, and 1 Echo 4 frame. And we can expect later in 2026 to see at least 2 more bounty packs, the second story pack, and more invincible bosses on top of this. So yeah, obviously they have a lot of plans for post-launch. So if you're wanting a game that is apparently trying to really attempt to keep the community together and keep content rolling out pretty much all the time, it seems like Borderlands 4 within that first year is really going after that goal. So yeah, it looks like Borderlands 4 is shaping up to be something special. We got a bigger world. It is the first ever seamless open world in a Borderlands game. Smoother traversal, deeper loot system, actual in-game systems right out of the gate, and a roadmap that looks pretty stacked here. Now, honestly, if Gearbox nails the balance between fun grind and meaningful rewards, this could reclaim the looter-shooter throne for sure. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, there are those lingering concerns around Unreal Engine 5. If the story can withhold itself from venturing into Borderlands 3 territory, will Gearbox be able to practice good monetization around the game way down the road? They were already tempted with the $80 price tag and reverted it back down to more of a normal price, which is $70 to start out the gate, which is good, but they've shown that they've been tempted to do the $80 there, so there's a little bit of worry in regards to what they might do potentially down the road in the future. So cross my fingers they really listen to the community here and do not do anything strange around monetization. So from what has been played so far and from what we have seen, I'm cautiously optimistic about this one. I cannot wait for September 12th. Here I have it marked on my calendar. Expect some more Borderlands 4 news and updates for you all. Thank you guys so much for watching. Stay tuned here for more, and I will see you all next time. Take care.